Well, hello! Since doing the DroneKeeper Micro review and tests, I've had so many comments in the video about the Hellgate Buzzer, which is another FPV buzzer which is battery backed and connects to your quad and basically stops you losing it should you crash and your battery disconnect or whatever. So of course, thanks to Hellgate FPV, I've got a hold of one, so we should open this up and see what's it all about and give it a test. Okay, so having unpacked everything, there's not much to it. This is what we got. We've got in here is a little sticky pad thing, I guess for sticking things on. We've got two spare bits of heat shrink, a little sticker, 3 nice silicone flexible piece of wire, and the actual Hellgate buzzer itself. You can just sort of see there you've got the sort of telltale signs of a little tiny LiPo battery, and you've got a ground 5V and a buzzer minus connection. It says the same on the other side. So for a useful size comparison, here's the Hellgate buzzer, and here's the sort of the standard buzzer you normally get on these quads. Thickness wise, you see it's not all that different. You really don't have to go much bigger or heavier to get one with a battery backup. There's a QR code on the packaging which will take you to some online instructions. I've printed them out because they're only one sheet, and essentially you're just connecting to buzzer plus, buzzer minus, but you're giving it an extra ground connection. The rest of it kind of works with timings, but we'll go into that once we actually connect it. So in terms of what to connect to, I've decided to use my good old Franking quad here, which started out as a Nebula 230, got some AKK bits jucked in it, got a new 2.1 RunCam lens on, and is at the moment still carrying a rather messy external X4R connector. When I connected this all back up, I incorrectly connected the buzzer and the lights, so they don't work anyway. So quite a good opportunity to take this off, put the buzzer in, and then I'll have enough room just to stick a little XM Plus in there, which will save this bit on the back. But let's get that hooked up now and we'll see if this thing works. And just to show you the very quick build part, first I soldered on the supplied cables to the buzzer itself and then installed them in the quad, and you can see the connections, the red to buzzer plus, the blue to buzzer minus, and the black to an extra ground. Now normally I would probably put this on the underside of the flight controller, but I've put it on the top here just so I could illustrate it a little easier, although it doesn't look particularly tidy, I have to admit. Okay, soldering and taking apart done, and we've installed it just in there. Obviously the beeper sticking upwards. If you had a quad with didn't have these silly side plates, you could also just stick it straight on top there, and that would be fine. Now the way it works is quite interesting, but also quite simple, so you don't have to think about it. So if we plug in a battery, and you can hear it beeping there, just do its initialization, because it acts as just a regular beeper. So all the time the battery's plugged in, it's going to act like a regular beeper. So if I take my radio here and put it in beeper mode, it beeps away. Ditto as I change the modes. Oh, arm it, etc. Nothing happens as far as the beeper goes until we actually unplug the battery. So if we unplug the battery, you can hear just this little chirp noise. Now it will chirp like this for 60 seconds before sounding the beeper. Now if you don't want it to sound, i.e. you've unplugged on purpose, all you have to do to disable it is plug in for a second, I think between 1 and 4 seconds, unplug, and you see a little diddly is the sign that, okay, I've disarmed myself, and that's it, that's ready to put away. So if we go for the actual letting it run, I unplug that. So that's chirping away. It's going to do this for a minute. So this is the first alarm, and it beeps every 2 seconds. It'll do this for the first 2 hours. After that will be every 5 seconds until 6 hours has gone past. Then every 10 seconds for the first 72 hours, and after that 30 seconds until it dies. So let's disarm this again. So all the time the battery's plugged in and flying normally, this is charging up. It ships in storage voltage, so what you can do is plug in a USB, which on this quad at least will give power to this and let it charge up. So I'll do that before I fly, but we need to go and do a test of this now, and because it will only sound, well, I can use it as a regular beeper of course, but that kind of defeats the object. So I need someone to basically take the plugged quad in, go and hide it somewhere, and I can see if I can locate it. Hello! Welcome to the field once again, where we are testing the little Hellgate buzzer, which is in this quad. So to do this, I'm going to plug in a battery. Sophie here, who is getting muddy from the dog, is going to take it and hide it, much like she did last time. And we also have this terrible dog with us,
jumped on me,
which is jumping up
a mud patch
and getting mud patches. So yeah, same situation as last time. Let's pretend I was out flying somewhere in this field, lost video, went down, battery came out, and to do this test we need the battery to come out for it to actually start beeping after a minute. So we're going to go ahead and do that now.
Okay, so I'm at my hiding spot. My dad is somewhere over in the distance, but I'm going to hide it here. And I also have to disconnect some kind of battery thingy. I have been briefed about how to disconnect it, so I just have to... Okay, disconnected it. I bring the battery back. Got it? Right, so it should be beeping now, and I'm almost at my dad's.
Sophie's back and she's got the battery. So it's time for us to look. We've got a really strong wind today, coming in sort of this angle. So we'll try the same sort of thing, going sort of midfield and see what happens. Okay, we're off into the strong wind, pretty much along the middle. Wow, this is really strong. So I'm hoping I'll be able to hear it okay over this noise, but so it's quite a different noise, this one. It's like a free beep.
There's
like a
no
beep beep beep.
time.
There's no birds, but we just got wind noise for our ears this time. Listen. The sunbird. Oh, what was that? I thought I just heard one then. Yes.
Yeah, I can't.
I can hear something. There's the little da-da-da-da. It sounds like it's coming from that way or that way. It's hard to tell because the wind's obviously blowing it at us, but the wind's with us today, so it's quite distinct. It's coming from this direction, so let's carry on. But the things we do for you people, look at this mud. Oh, that was really strong then.
Tell Rossi that.
How are you doing, Rosh? Rosh is
so
actually mud splattered completely. Someone's got to bath this dog.
Yeah, she's going to need a bath.
Oh yes, it's coming on quite strong now. Around here somewhere.
Can't tell, can you?
No, direction is quite hard. There it is. Oh, Sophie even put it upside down for me to make it harder. Wow, look at that. Ugh. There it is. So yeah, the way we have to disarm this now, once again, is to plug our battery in for between a second and 4 seconds. And we get that little diddle, which means it's done. And there you go, that's a blind test of this one. So that is the Hellgate buzzer in there. And I think it works really well. It really does what it sets out to, which is essentially beep when there's no battery involved. And it's very simple, of course, to disarm it, and you don't have to think about what you're doing. It's just like you're installing it as a buzzer. It works as a normal buzzer, but if the battery comes out, it then beeps by itself for days, which is fantastic. So I suppose the big question is, how does this compare to things like the DroneKeeper Mini, the DroneKeeper Micro, which are things I reviewed before? There are pros and cons of both, and some of them pretty much depend on your sort of circumstances and what you do. Myself, as a full-time reviewer of quads and stuff, I get in a lot of quads, so it's very useful that these basically just swap quad to quad with a rubber band. But generally speaking, most people don't have 11 million quads sat on their wall. They've got maybe one or two. At which case, you know, it's not bad that you wire this thing physically in and it sits there all the time in a quad. And I mean, if you wanted to, yeah, you could connect it with servo cables coming in and out and swap them around, but it's not really the point. The point is you don't have to think about it. These move around quad to quad, but you have to remember to put the battery in. You have to remember to switch it on. I can't tell you the number of people that have written to me said I forgot to attach it, or I forgot to get a battery for it, or I forgot to turn it on, and then they lose their quad, which is a real kick yourself twice for that one. So obviously you don't need to think about that. It's installed as a buzzer, it's going to be there, and all the time you're flying or connected to Betaflight or whatever, that is charging up, and that's good for days. So that is really fantastic. Now, as far as the sound goes, these I felt are louder. There is a louder beep coming from these ones than this one, which is your sort of normal buzzer. And generally speaking, when I fly this and I've just crashed normally and the battery's still there and I'm using my own beeper to find out where it is, I can hear my beeper, and then when this kicks in, it's a lot louder. However, at the same time, the Hellgate has that very distinctive, I kept calling it a triple beep, but it's actually a quadruple beep 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 beep, which sets it slightly aside from that rhythmic single beep beep, which sounds more like a bird if there's loads of birds flying around. So that's very good. And of course these beep for hours, this beeps for days. I think the jury's slightly out about how useful it is to start reducing the amount of beeps it does. So it starts off doing those beeps every 2 seconds and it goes to 5 seconds. Then after days it goes to every 30 seconds. It's like when you're searching around, I feel you want something more than every 30 seconds, but at the same time you're in a really weird situation where you're coming back after several days and searching for it. But you know, whatever works for you. Now, price-wise, I think Hellgate are onto a bit of a winner here. The DroneKeeper is about $35 and only ships from South Korea, which is slightly expensive. Whereas the Hellgate is, in the US, I think about $30, it's €25 and about £22 in the UK. And that's one of the key things. So what Hellgate have done is they've shipped it out to loads of retailers. So it's quite possible that the country you're in or a country very close to you is going to be able to supply it. So you're not going to get those high charges of shipping it. So I think if you're building a quad and you're going to have like 2 or 3 main quads, then spending an extra $30 to put a beeper in, although fairly expensive, when you're talking about a small number of quads, I think it's pretty good, because basically as soon as it's in there you don't have to think about it. It replaces your normal beeper, it works like a normal beeper, and should the battery come out, it'll save your quad. Yeah, you don't get to move it around like you do on these ones, but if you're talking about minimal amounts of quads, you don't need to do that. But tell me what you think. For me, I'm still going to keep using these just because I keep getting new quads, but if I've got like these main single quads that I'm going to use time and time again, it'll be this sort of beeper that I'd prefer to install. Anyway, I added the link to Hellgate FPV down below, and you can check their webpage to find out where the dealers are near you that might do it. But anyway, yeah, happy building, and the main thing is, whatever you use something so you don't lose your quad. I will catch you in the next video. Bye for now.
Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.